Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Sense for Thoughts. I'm Mo, and today I've got a first impressions video for you guys, and it is for Areej Le Doré's Classics collection. Now, the Classics collection was released in July. They released it in like a multi-pack where you buy the whole set of five. I believe they're 33 ml each. So 5 bottles of 33 ml, and it was about 1.5k or so. I was in Japan at the time, and I thought, do I want to wake up at 3 a.m. and spend 1.5k on 5 blind buys? The answer was no. And then I know that they're releasing the individual bottles where you can just pick and choose what you want in August, probably towards the end of August, once they sort out certain things to do with the tariffs and things like that. So I thought I would get some samples and give you my first impressions to help not just myself, but maybe you decide which ones are full bottle worthy and which ones are worth waking up at whatever time it is in your time zone and trying to check out as quickly as possible. When it comes to my experience with Areej Le Doré, I don't own any full bottles and I don't have any samples or decants. I have heard a lot about the brand, obviously founded and perfumed by Russian Adam. I've watched a few videos here and there from YouTubers like Ramsey, which I'm sure you guys have if you've been in Perfume and Fragcom for any time. You'll have heard of the brand Areej Le Doré and Russian Adam. So they're described as artisanal perfumes that are made with rare ingredients in low quantities, because obviously the rare ingredients can't be really manufactured or mass produced, as you can imagine, because you only find a small piece of this rare ambergris or a small amount of this natural wood, oud, or a small amount of deer musk. Obviously, deer musk is banned everywhere except in Russia, so that's where they source it from. There's other brands that are kind of in the same category of perfumery, so stuff like Ensar Oud, Bortnikov, and a few other ones also. So my experiences with Areej Le Doré are limited. I've tried a few of their less popular, less successful offerings that are still not sold out, because I happened to go to a artisanal perfumer in Doha that actually had Bortnikov, Ensar Oud, and Areej Le Doré, and they had testers. So I was there for a few hours just testing a few of those things. Now, I appreciate that a lot of them were really beautiful fragrances. I only tested them on test strip. A few managed to go on skin, but only one of them was Areej Le Doré, to be fair. So my experience is limited. Now, the fact that those have not sold out and are still available and have been available for months, stuff like Beauty and the Beast, there's like a Al Oud, Al Sandal, etc. These kind of things, they seem to be not very popular online, but they did smell pretty good. But these, on the other hand, are very, very hyped. Now, I've been in the hype industry, if you want to call it, for some time. Actually, way before I was into perfumes, I used to buy and sell hyped fashion items, stuff like rare Jordans, Kanye West kind of shoes, things of that nature. That was back in my early 20s, and I totally understand hype as a whole. And I'm not surprised that hype is, or the hype marketing techniques and methods have made it into perfumery, because it's a great way to sell product, to have exclusivity and desirability. And as soon as those go up, you can sell your product. But if desirability is low, you can't sell your product, as you can imagine. So I'm not a huge fan, even though I personally was in my youth. I made a ton of money buying the stuff. Sometimes we would camp outside a Nike overnight. So waking up early and checking out within 5 minutes to buy some Areej Le Doré is not a daunting task to me, because I've done way crazier things. We used to hack the Adidas sites and the Nike sites to buy the products before they were released, and we made a lot of money. I probably shouldn't be saying that on camera, but anyway, hopefully it won't make it too far. So I totally understand hype. I totally understand hype marketing. I have participated, I have profited off it, and I enjoyed the products. Now, when it comes, now that I'm older, into my 30s, it's just not something that gets me particularly excited about a brand, but rather it pushes me further away, because I just think all of this hype means that the products are overvalued and overrated by default. The hype kind of marketing does make things very difficult for you to judge properly, because you can't sample and you can't test. So you have to commit a lot of money, or even more money, on the second-hand market. Some of these Areej Le Dorés I've seen go for upwards of £1,000 for a bottle, a used bottle at that. And to me, at this moment in time, there is no juice worth £1,000. So for me, it was always off-putting, and the Areej Le Doré brand and other brands that follow the same kind of hype marketing tactics have been very low on my list. Now that they've re-released their classics, their most sought after and most critically acclaimed perfumes, and also because I sampled some of them in store, not the new ones, the older ones, and I thought they were pretty good. So that intrigued me enough to seek out some samples of this new classic collection. These were quite difficult to get hold of. I've managed to acquire all 5, and a bonus fragrance as well. I had to convince someone to decant 1 ml of each. After asking in a group of thousands of Areej Le Doré fans, 2 said they would be willing. 1 was way too expensive, and 1 was a good friend, John. Thank you very much, John, for decanting some of your bottles for me and sending me these samples at a reasonable price. I'm very, very grateful. I was never going to blind buy any of these. They're expensive enough, let alone blind buy all 5 in a set. So the purpose of this video is to give you guys my first impression on wearing this new classic collection, which ones are worth it, which ones are perhaps not so worth it, which ones I'll be waking up early to get a bottle of in the hype, or maybe which ones I would not recommend you do the same. As always, this is just my opinion. Always try and sample like I have. I appreciate this can be quite difficult, and do try and trust your nose. So the classic collection is a re-release and reformulation of 5 classic perfumes from Areej Le Doré. So we have Cuir de Russie 2, we have Oud Luwak 2, we have Inverno Russo 2, Antiquity 2, War and Peace 3, and I actually managed to also get a Russian Oud 2, which is like an older one, because why not? So there's 6 samples altogether. I'm not going to spray all of these like a discovery set on paper, because I do respect the brand and respect that these are really made to be worn on skin. So I'll be doing 2 each in a part 1, part 2, and part 3. 2 per video on skin. We're going to do Oud Luwak, which is like some kind of coffee oud, with Russian oud, to compare the 2 oud offerings. 1 you can buy next month at retail price. 1 is an older one, so that'll be quite interesting. I've decided to test Inverno Russo 2 and War and Peace 3 together, because they kind of didn't really fit a specific category, and they have a lot of animalics, so I thought they were kind of slightly comparable. And then I've gone for the more European takes, which is Cuir de Russie 2 and Antiquity 2, which is like a peachy kind of chypre, I believe. So I'm going to be sampling those 2 in part 1 today on skin. The others will follow suit. So we'll focus on these 2 today. Cuir de Russie 2. So Cuir de Russie 2, obviously Cuir de Russie is at this point a category of perfume. Popularized, or rather the most famous of, is obviously Cuir de Russie by Chanel. I've sampled Cuir de Russie the modern. It was nice. It did not move me to get a full bottle, but I'll be honest with you, I only wore it once, so I didn't really have a chance to live with it. It was not animalic at all to my nose whatsoever, to be honest with you. I found Le Lion a lot more challenging. I've also tried Cuir Canage, which is kind of François Demachy's take for Dior on Cuir de Russie, and I thought that one was slightly more interesting. Obviously it's discontinued, so I've not swung for a bottle, but I do have a sample that I'm working through at the moment. And now this is Cuir de Russie 2 by Areej Le Doré. Judging by the color of this juice versus the Dior and Chanel, this looks like it could be scary in comparison, and could be that animalic leather that we're looking for without the Chanel and Dior clean image. Antiquity 2, I believe, is a peach chypre. I love chypres. I love peach chypres more than anything. The Diaghilev, which is a peach chypre, inspired by Mitsuko, is one of my favorite fragrances of all times. So I'm super excited about Antiquity 2. So let's give these a spray on skin. I will tell you my impressions of the opening. I'm going to go carry on with my day, and then I'll return back in the evening to tell you how they wore and kind of the dry down and what I think about them overall. Obviously, this is not going to be a first wear. If I was to give these a first wear, I would have to wait for a whole month because I'll wear one on Saturday, one on the Sunday, because there's no way I'm going to be wearing these at work, especially because I work in a hospital and I've just started a new job. I'm not into taking risks so early on. Maybe if 6 months into my job, I would wear these, but at the moment, I'm going to be playing it safe for a while. So this is not really a first wear, but rather a first impression. So it's important to take the way I speak about their performance as with a bit of a grain of salt, because obviously a first wear you spray a lot more and it'll be the only thing you have on. So let's give these a go. I'm going to start with Antiquity 2. Here's a sample. Not really getting much from the atomizer. Let's give it a few sprays. 3 sprays, because why not? Wow, okay. This is strong. There's a bit of alcoholic smell. I'll just let that kind of take its time to dissipate. It smells vintagey, but it smells oudy. Now, I don't associate oud with chypres. I don't know how I feel about that. There is a strong oud presence here. And in my mind, I've kind of compartmentalized. Vintage European fruity chypres are in like one side of my brain, and like real oud is like on the total other side of my brain. And now they're kind of mixing. It's kind of confusing me at the moment. I'm not sure if it's blowing my mind in a good way or in a bad way, but let's give it a smell. This is strong, wow. So off the bat, I'm getting 2 very clear things. There is real oud in this, no doubt about it, and there is a peach note. Now, I love peach notes in fragrances. One of my favorite perfumes is Diaghilev by Roger. And my only critique or thing I would change about Diaghilev, and it's almost perfect, it's a 9.9 out of 10 to me, is I just wish that peach opening lasted longer, because it's the best opening of any perfume in the world. So I'm wondering how long the peach will stay. I will definitely be timing that and seeing how long it stays. So the peach is already settling. And there is a leathery, oudy base in the background. I'm not getting too much barnyard or animalic. It's not dirty at all to me. It's actually, the opening was very strong in the air, and kind of the notes were all over the place, if you like, but now it's kind of settling. So it's a nice sweet peach with it's like a fruity oud perfume, but there's something leathery in the base for sure. Wow, okay. It's smelling more like a coherent composition now that I've let it evaporate a little bit. There is a sharp, fruity peach with definitely some kind of citruses. And then there's a chocolatey kind of oud in the base. It's not animalic in the oud sense. The oud is not barnyardy. It is animalic, as in there might be some castoreum in here. Maybe even civet too. It's not too pissy, but there's a slight pissiness. And a leatheriness. Now, the leatheriness could be due to the oud, could be due to the castoreum, maybe a bit of both. But yeah, so far I really enjoy this. I would say it's striking me as a cold weather perfume. I think most of these probably will be. It has a mossy texture, so I reckon there's oak moss in this. I haven't actually looked at the notes of any of these. It's a beautiful chypre, that's for sure. Off of first impressions, and I've only smelled this for the past minute with you guys, it's no Diaghilev. Diaghilev has that. It's much more of a bombastic opening. It's much more impressive. But we'll see how this wears, and I'll feed back with you guys later on today. Next up, we'll go with Cuir de Russie 2. Now, I'm concerned about this one. One of these was room filling without me opening the lids. I think it's not one of these two for today's video, but every time I'd enter the room, I've kept them and just get within a meter, one was quite strong, and they all have lids and they're not leaking. Let's give Cuir de Russie a few sprays. Three sprays might be a lot, but here we go. Oh, wow, okay, I need to let this one settle. It is strong. I do have to say that these have left a considerable oil stain on my arms. Like, my arms are brown. Definitely do not spray these on clothes. Oh, Cuir de Russie is nasty in a good way. There's something sharp in there, medicinal, I'd say. This is birch tar, but like, it makes other birch tars seem super fake. I understand why they banned birch tar. This smells like it could do some damage to your health. Yeah, this smells like a Russian army leather boot with mud on it. In the best way possible. It's sharp. It's kind of almost vinegary in a way. That's how sharp it is. It's so realistic, the leather. It's unbelievable. This is not new car leather. This is like a leather that has been to war and back, you know? It's been worn for 10 years. Something almost bloody about it. Something so animalic, like there's blood on that leather boot. It's super masculine to me. There's something slightly sweet in the base. Wow, this is intense perfume. I have to be honest, I've smelt a lot of leathers. The current leathers in my collection, I have Cuir by Otto Parisi, very strong leather fragrance. I have a few saffron leathers. I have Nouveau Monde by Louis Vuitton. But this is something else. This Cuir de Russie 2 makes the others seem like they're not even leather, you know? There's some kind of florals in there that are kind of softening it a bit. Like maybe the leather has been treated. I can see that the leather has a bit of shine to it as well. It's super high quality. Super, super impressive. Let's go back to Antiquity 2. Yeah, to be honest with you, Cuir de Russie 2 is a lot stronger than Antiquity 2. I'm finding it difficult to even just smell Antiquity 2 on my arm because the Cuir de Russie is so loud. Yeah, the sharpness and the strength of Cuir de Russie 2 is making Antiquity 2 seem like it's just a fragrance, maybe less special. This is very particular. Most of you will not understand the reference, but it smells like pickled lemon. I don't know if you have pickled lemon. It's kind of a thing in the Middle East. Like there's something aromatic about it, there's something citrusy about it, but then that leather is so strong. It's like a leather boot, and you know how the leather boots have these metal kind of metal work where the laces go around like in an army boot. It's like that, those metal bits, I'm sure they have a name. They've become a bit rusty. I appreciate the way I'm describing it sounds like it's unpleasant or something you wouldn't want to wear. And I think for most people, they probably would not want to smell like this, but there's something very addictive about it. And I kind of do want to smell like this. Wow, so I chose those two, and I thought they would be the two that are more Western, more European, more tame. They're very strong and very interesting indeed. So I'm going to get on with my day. I've got 3 sprays of Antiquity 2, 3 sprays of Cuir de Russie 2, and I will keep smelling these throughout the day, and I will come back later on in the evening and tell you guys my thoughts on the dry down, projected performance, and whether I'll be pursuing a full bottle of these in the next few weeks when they do release. Good evening, everyone. I'm back after wearing Cuir de Russie 2 and Antiquity 2 by Areej Le Doré. 3 sprays of each on each arm for the day, and just to give you some feedback about the dry down and my experience of the day as a whole. So with regards to Cuir de Russie 2, let's start with that one because it was very loud to begin with. It was just a birch tar bomb, and it caused me a lot of trouble actually. So I've been wearing these for about 4.5 hours, and Cuir de Russie 2 is, in the opening, incredibly room filling. Okay, and it's such a loud birch tar. It's very strong and very animalic leatheriness, and that stays for quite some time. After, I'd say, the first hour, maybe hour and a half, some of the rose really comes through that was missing in the beginning. The rose in the beginning was just adding this acidic sharpness. There is this thing that I don't know the official terms, but I call it real rose, where it's in a lot of artisanal perfumes that use rose in the Oriental style, and they obviously use it at large amounts. It's a very strong acidic kind of rose. It's very sharp, very pure. Now, strong roses like that can be quite difficult, just as difficult to me as like any animalic note, to be honest with you. So after about an hour and a half of Cuir de Russie 2, some of the rose started to come through. And at the moment, into the dry down, the leather has taken a back seat. It's still there, but there is this very beautiful rose accord on top of it. The first hour and a half, though, where the birch tar is really strong and in your face, it's very challenging. My wife basically kicked me out of the house. She gave me an ultimatum: either you shower or you leave the house for a bit. So I chose to leave the house just to save the video, but definitely not mass appealing. Cuir de Russie 2. Now, how does it compare to other Cuir de Russies from the more normal designer brands, if you like? It's definitely a Russian leather, but all the Russian leathers I've smelled have that same birch tar based Russian leather. But there's something very Oriental about it, and it's the use of rose. It's very strong. It's kind of beautiful, but that first hour is just not acceptable to me. It was so strong. My wife said I smelled like a stable, which is fair. So it is quite a stinky one. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Russian leather as a category of perfume in general. If you are, though, this is like pretty up there with one of the strongest Russian leathers out there. But it does go more into an Oriental kind of route with the use of rose. I'm not sure how much rose is in this, but if I was to bet, I would say it's quite a lot, and I would say it's quite a lot of natural rose as well. So if you're into natural rose perfumes or Russian leather perfumes, I would say this one is definitely one I would recommend. In the dry down after a few hours is quite beautiful, but those first few hours are brutal. I'll be honest, I sprayed 3 of them as you guys watched, and that was way too much. It was beating me up. Even outside, I was in my garden doing some work. As my body warmed up, the intensity went crazy. And with the wind as well, I thought that would tame it, but it just it almost filled the whole garden, which is, talking about a room filler, this one was like a garden filler. So even outside, it felt like very, very strong. I would say perhaps that's a skill issue. Perhaps I should just have done one spray underneath my clothes. But if you do spray this, I would say definitely try and keep the first hour inside, away from people, if possible, because the opening is probably the most exciting part. Well, it definitely is the most exciting part, but also the most difficult part. After that, the leather kind of falls into the base, and the mid starts to come out, and that mid is just those beautiful roses that come out. So in terms of Cuir de Russie, my verdict: will I be purchasing this when it comes out in the next few weeks? No, I will not be purchasing this one, to be honest with you guys. The opening was a bit too challenging. The birch tar is really in your face. It's like a punch to the face. And overall, I prefer the more tame, fake versions of the Cuir de Russie scent profile if I was to choose any. But like I said, I'm not in the market for any Cuir de Russie. But if I was, I would definitely say this could be the Cuir de Russie to conquer them all. The Chanel and Dior are a lot cleaner than Cuir de Russie 2. Cuir de Russie 2 is way dirtier and way more animalic and way more challenging. And that might make it amazing if you're going for a special occasion kind of wear and you're dressed up maybe in a tuxedo and you look very elegant. But if you want to wear this on a regular basis, this is not for regular wear. Whilst Cuir de Russie by Chanel, Cuir Carnage by Dior, and Sense of that nature, they're a lot more wearable. Like you could probably signature scent those really if you really wanted, but there's no way you can signature scent this. You'll be totally and completely out of place. So if I was to rate this, I would give this a 7 out of 10. It's very interesting, but very, very potent. If you are a Cuir de Russie fan in general, definitely recommend you sample this one. Now let's move on to Antiquity 2. I don't know if it's like Antiquity 2 or Antiquity 3. I've lost count. The guys labeled it Antiquity 2, but it's the new one anyway. So Antiquity, like I explained, it's a chypre, okay? But it's a chypre with deer musk and oud. So the peach, unfortunately, has not stayed really into the dry down. The deer musk and oud have kind of taken over the formula. There is a strong patchouli and strong oak moss as well. So I think some patchoulis can be really, really dark, can be funky. So the funk is kind of coming from deer musk, oud, and the patchouli. So it does have a lot of depth and a lot of funk. Now, I have to say, I have enjoyed Antiquity 2 a lot more than Cuir de Russie. It's much more my style. But when I analyze this in comparison to other chypres, especially other fruity peach chypres in particular, I just think this did not need oud, you know? It has this Cambodian oud. It's not the most challenging, okay, of ouds out there. It's maybe slightly poopy, but that's about it. Does it really need this? The deer musk is fantastic. So this is basically like you took a Mitsuko and added deer musk instead of the fake musks that they use. And on paper, that sounds like an amazing upgrade. But to me, the oud is out of place here, in my humble opinion. Okay, I feel like the oud is taking over the formula a little bit and it's making it a bit too dark, a bit too oriental. I think if they just use labdanum instead of oud, I know they're trying to make it different and not just use the same formula of a fruity chypre structure that everyone uses. But I think this one maybe has gone a bit too far. I think the oud is taking over the formula. The deer musk is beautiful. And the peach opening is nice, although short-lived. So Antiquity 2, unfortunately, will not be on my to-buy list. When it comes to how Antiquity 2 behaved, it's quite strong, but nowhere near as strong as Cuir de Russie 2. But actually, once Cuir de Russie kind of calmed down, they were kind of exchanging blows in the air. Sometimes I get a whiff of Cuir de Russie 2, sometimes I get a whiff of Antiquity. And this definitely has a robust base, but I feel like the robust base is taking away too much from the scent profile. I feel like the oud is making it maybe slightly too oriental, slightly imbalanced in my humble opinion. So that was my take on the new Cuir de Russie 2 and Antiquity 2 by Areej Le Doré. They will be out sometime in August as individual bottles. In terms of the first two, I chose the least oriental and to kind of ease myself into the brand because these are two scent profiles I'm familiar with, a fruity chypre and a Russian leather. The Russian leather was incredibly strong. It's got me fearful for what's to come. I'll be filming those next week for you guys. But in terms of Antiquity 2, I have to say I was very, very hopeful. On paper, this was like a blind buy almost, but I'm glad I sampled it because I don't think it's the one for me. I much prefer the Agalev. Yes, having deer musk, because obviously the fruit chypres are quite musky in nature. Having deer musk makes it nice, but at what cost? The deer musk is detectable. But if I wanted deer musk fragrance, I would go for a Bortnikov Musk Habib, for example, because that celebrates the deer musk more. It makes the deer musk as its main protagonist. This one, the deer musk kind of falls into the background and becomes more of a textural experience. But then you have the oak moss and you have the oud and that strong patchouli. So the deer musk is not the main player here. So that's why, for me, Antiquity 2 was the most disappointing because I had very high hopes for it. But I think I will stick to the Agalev and will be passing on Antiquity 2. Have you guys tried Cuir de Russie 2 and Antiquity 2? Have you tried any of the original versions, which obviously are no longer in production? Let me know what you think about hyped releases. Let me know what you think about Areej Le Doré in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe as we go through the full new collection. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.